Well, hello traders and investors. I'm LA Little and this is your weekly NeoTA wrap. We take a look at these markets and we're doing it from a neoclassical perspective. Each time we're asking ourselves what happened last week and how can we use that to make better trades in the coming ones. I do this show once a week every Sunday evening. It's broadcast at or before 10 o'clock Eastern Time. It's archived on YouTube. It's available freely under the channel LA Little. And if you want to subscribe, you can. Anytime I push content, you'll get a notification. Just reach up on the right-hand side and hit the subscribe button if you're interested. As far as what happened last week, let's quickly take a look at the numbers here. Pretty big push up across the board again, both in Europe, Asia, even here in the Russell. Index struggled. We had the bonds sell off. We had oil up huge again. Oil made a 30% rally now in 2.5, 3 weeks. But of course it's down 80% in 2 years. So I guess you can get those big rallies that look like you're going to the moon. As far as the dollar, slightly lower. We got the ECB this week. And if you look at gold, and I talked about it Thursday, gold failed on Thursday, failed again on Friday. Gold's going to try to come back in. Let's take a look at the charts. I'm going to start, and we're going to do a quick rotate around the world. We're going to look at the weekly charts. Here's Australia. Australia coming off the lows, coming back up. All of these, or most of these, are doing bearish retest regen. So just go back, find your swing point low, do the top to bottom. The target is the top of those lows in most cases. In those cases where, like especially in Asia, where they sold off even harder, of course, those lows of the swing point lows are going to be the targets. Here's one on the Sensex, for example, coming back in. It's done a push right back up to the top of this big bar down, didn't have as much volume. You got your swing point low sitting right here. That's going to be the resistance zone as it comes back. Brazil, as it comes back. And what I want you to notice is notice the trends on these things, right? Most of these things are hugely sitting to the downside. If I pull back the monthly, it's doing a full retest regen on the monthly on Brazil. You're going to see that in some cases. Brazil, huge short covering rally here. But again, these are just rallies in the context of some big sell-offs that have taken place already. Here's France. France coming back again. Swing point lows, trying to do a full retest regen into the swing point low that was broken on this particular bar. If we look at London, now London has had a big rally compared to most of them, but still in the context of a swing point low, it's a retest regen, folks. And it's this way almost everywhere you look. It's there. If you look at the DAX is in the same spectacle. Here's the swing point low. Again, the DAX, and this is the weakest one in Europe, the DAX is still contesting the top of that area. Moving over to Asia, if we look at Hong Kong, the Hong Kong market, big bounces, but those bounces look like nothing when you put it on the weeklies. Swing point low here, it's trying to get back into 23.68. I suspect it's going to try to run up into that fairly quickly. Finishing up with Europe, here's Switzerland. Switzerland coming back into the breakdown bars high, which is also this huge bar on swing point low. Actually, this will be the one it plays with. It could get as high as about 8125, it looks like. And finishing off, let's look at Taipei right quick. Taipei doesn't look too bad. A little bounce up on the weekly. One of the stronger ones, and that's been reflected here. Anytime Taipei runs, you can expect your chip stocks to run here in the U.S. If we move over to the U.S. and the general markets there, we can see the same sort of thing going on here that we see overseas. For example, if I pull up the S&P 500, S&P 500 is doing a bearish retest regenerate off that prior swing point low. Here's the low there. As it goes back up, that's the test, and that's what it's trying to get to. If you look at it on the weaker ones, like we'll look at the NASDAQ, for example, on the NASDAQ here, just got over the swing point high, so transitions trend, but what is it doing? It's finally coming back into the bearish retest regenerate zone on the weekly. And again, it's the same structure over and over, no matter what market you look at. They've all been sold down big. They're all getting big bounces. but those bounces are in the context of sticky, heavy, big beatings, if you will, to the downside. Russell coming back into a swing point low, same thing. So when I look at the markets overseas, I look at the markets here in the U.S., you've got the same situation taking place in all of them, and that is in the context of everything that's taking place, you got big bounces in the context of bear market type trends to the downside. And finally, one more chart. Here's the EEM, which is the emerging markets. Again, get underneath it, bounce back up into it. You're trying to test the top of it. I talked about gold. I want to quickly touch on it. I know that a lot of you like to play gold. GLD itself got over, back under on a weekly basis. That's a test failure here on the weekly basis, right? So you test the highs, you can't hold over it, you don't have as much volume. If you pull it back and you look at it on a daily basis, you actually had failures on Thursday, on Friday. Here's that top here, right? You get over it on Thursday, you can't hold it, right? We get it drawn in, can't hold it, get back underneath it. You get way over it on Friday and you still give it up. Volume's lower than the big bar. This thing is a range and it is going to come back in. So if you're looking at these markets, pull them back to your intermediate term time frames, look at those, key off of those, because that's where the action is probably going to take place. It's not this daily stuff that you've been watching, these huge bounces, especially in the beaten up sectors of this market. Sure, they can get huge bounces, and sure, if you're in them and you didn't get killed on the way down, you happen to time it just right, yeah, you made some really good money. Most people aren't that good to make that kind of money. And they certainly aren't good enough, if they're lucky enough to make it, to know when to get back out. You got to take your profits when they come if you're counter trend trading, and these are counter trends, except for in those that have really started to run the other way, like your commodities, even your oil. I wonder when oil is going to get to the point where people start thinking it's too high and it's not a positive for the markets. Is that 50 bucks? Is it 60 bucks? 25 bucks certainly was a worry. Now that we're 45, nobody's worried anymore. Matter of fact, it's all good now. Let's see what the ECB does Thursday. Until then, I think these markets are going to waffle. And I'll see you tomorrow night here, and we'll see how the action gets started on the first of the week. Have a great one. I'll see you then. Good night.